this mold, silicon mold, and got a chimney in it. And to make sure the chimney's hollow, we've got it doesn't want to come out, which is typical. We have a PTFE core plug. Doesn't have to be PTFE, it could be metal, but in this case it's PTFE. So that's one, and I'll show you a second one. Now that one only went part of the way through the chimney, as is this one, and this one will take us on to another aspect. And I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this on, but this one might not be so easy to get. Oh, isn't it? The nice thing about PTFE, it seems to be almost self-lubricating. And so the core plug, PTFE core plugs will tend to come out of the molds much easier than metal ones. Even when the metal ones are polished, the PTFE seems to just be that little bit better. But we're going to come back to this chimney in a moment because it shows a defect. Right, yes. Okay. Now then, I have a diagram. I'm going to talk about chimneys and making patterns and core plugs. Now, our chimney looks reasonably nice, but you might be able to see at the base of that chimney, just where it goes to just go into the flare, it necks slightly. Do you understand what I mean when I say necking?
Yeah.
So it's pulled in slightly, and that's due to the mass of the wax there. As it's cooling, it can pull. Now, as it happens, in the case of that chimney, the pattern was a bit like that, so that didn't help. So that core plug, although it goes all the way almost down to the base, it there's just enough mass there that when the wax cools, it pulls the necking in. And what I've done is a terribly coarse diagram so that you can actually see the effect that I'm talking about. And we've all probably seen it at some point or other. So to make it work better, let me find another. This is a different one. This is the chimney for the Great Western River, and we'll take this out of here. And you'll notice I've come up with a big old lump of rubber, but that big old lump of rubber goes all the way through.
Right.
Okay. And that way we alleviate the necking issue. Obviously, you don't have anything for location necessarily, but that will produce a far better finished part. In fact, this is a copper chimney, so not quite a river one. It's still Great Western, I'm sorry to say, but it's done in exactly the same manner. Although this one had a metal core in it.
I'd say a millimeter. I'll cut it first with my saw.
All right. Okay.
But there you go. You see, that's a really nice angular, perfectly. It's all perfectly at right angles because it's impossible not to get it at right angles because you're doing it round a square block. I mean, it would take you hours, wouldn't it, with tweezers trying to line those up. And that should fit really quite nicely. And it does look into that corner of the cab just there, like that. It fits nicely up against the chassis as well, because you can see that like on the real thing, the chassis there protrudes. Can you see that?
Yeah.
The chassis just protrudes up into the cab. And how the Loco's made is that these kind of boxes, the splasher come, sandbox come, toolbox, whatever it is, kind of butts up against the outside face of the chassis. And then I think, although I don't know because it's difficult to tell from the photographs that I've got, I don't think this cab's got a platform. I don't think the cab floor is raised up above the footplate. I think the footplate just has planking across. And that'll finish the floor of the cab then, and that'll all be very nice. So, does anybody want me to demonstrate how I make other shapes?
Circles.
A circle. That's very easy. Circles are very easy.
Okay, what's not easy then?
Well, I'll do a circle. I mean, I'll show you.
I
how
think
to do it.
circles would be good because that's a shape that I think most people would, think
Yeah.
about trying to get right and having to get the curve right, and
Well,
then, like you say, blending into that curve.
Let's demonstrate how you would make a. One of the things I cut lots of things. One of the things I cut out very often are things like balance weights for the side of a wheel.
Yeah.
So that might be a good thing to demonstrate,
Mm.
And obviously, if you're making a balance weight for this one of these wheels here, I mean, they've already got balance weights, but let's just make another one for fun. The thing to do would obviously, starting point is to work out what the diameter, the outside diameter of the balance weight would need to be, and you can see I've just laid me vernier along a spoke there, because this has got wheels with an even number of spokes, so that's handy because you can just measure from rim to rim across a spoke, and that's coming out at 34.2.
As I mentioned, one of the key difficulties in machining any parts is working out how to hold them safely and securely. In this section I am using two wheel blocks face to face to hold round bar so that I can fly cut each end. These will ultimately become the flanges for the steam pipes, with the fly cut faces sitting against the Princess smoke box. This is in real time, so you can see that it doesn't take long to fly cut the end of the bar. Another way to hold things for machining is to use a superglue arbor. In this section I am turning thin backing plates for the steam pipe flanges. I first faced off some 10mm nickel silver bar and then cut some 10.5mm squares of 0.2mm nickel scrap etch. Each square is then superglued to the end of the nickel bar and allowed to set. I tend to leave it about 30 minutes to be sure. Then, taking small cuts, gradually turn the square into a round, in this case taking the final size down to 9.5mm. Once the turning is complete, the thin plate can be released from the arbor, either by gently heating it or dipping it in acetone. If you are heating it, take care not to breathe in the fumes, as they are poisonous. Again, this video is being recorded in real time, and each square of nickel takes around about 3 minutes to turn by taking very gentle cuts along the way. Apologies if this is a bit boring to watch, but it's you can see the minute amounts that I'm turning the hand wheel just to increase the depth on each pass.
Another little sort of top tip, I suppose, is if you've got a building, obviously the double O is not quite so bad, but again, these buildings don't come with any glazing, and I think it just needs to finish it off. Obviously no interior to them, so you can see inside. What I tend to do is use some eco plastic packaging, clear packaging, but before I fit it to glass, get some matte lacquer and just bits for distance, and it basically gives that like opaque finish to the glass. I would fit the spray side on the inside of the building, so from the outside the glass is still shiny, but you can't quite see through, which is, and obviously depending on how much you put, same with some of the vehicles as well. Really, some of the Oxford die-cast vehicles, they can be a bit too shiny. So I find a coat of matte lacquer just helps take it down. And if you do want to weather the vehicles up as well, it's something for the weathering powders to key to, because they're just very hard and shiny to sort of finish really. But yeah, so I think that's about it.
Can we have a look at some of your other work?
Yeah, carry on. Yeah, we'll see what we've got and have a run through.
Found a nice large one for you to start with.
Oh yeah, okay. All right, okay. Yeah, so this is JS Models. This is 00. So this is one of their kits that he does. Yeah, so that's a wooden kit, completely wood, and that is stone finish to it. So that was a mixture. So obviously with MDF and stuff, you don't want to get too much water about the place. So I would seal the wood first. So I would either use a primer, or if you want to use a lacquer, just anything to sort of seal the wood first, really. So the last thing you want to do is to start to fall off or start to swell, really. So that one, I'm just trying to think what is quite a while ago, was the MDF is quite a dark colour on his kits. They whether the laser burns the wood a bit, makes it go a bit dark, but for weathering it's quite good. So that was literally, I think, a kiss with an aerosol can all over, a bit patchy. So you got darker and lighter patches. And I think between the two, it's sort of a bit of a fluke really, but it worked quite well. And obviously it's quite a rundown factory. So again, with the weathering down size, the biggest thing when photographing on this is that for some reason the black really pulls out on the photograph and makes it look a lot more harsher than it is in real life. So I must admit the weathering of the windowsills looked quite dark there, but in real life it wasn't quite as bad as that sort of thing. I always have this trouble with photographing figures too, is that the cameras just can be a bit too cruel sometimes and can see more than what we can see in real life really. But yeah, on there. Okay, so this is part of a commission. So this was a water pumping station. Actually, this again is a JS model, so they didn't do this kit. So I asked them whether they could do me a pump house for this layout, and they produced that. And after that, there's a kit that you can buy in O gauge and in 00. They do it in brick too as well. Just quite a nice little building, chimney, different length chimneys. So all the pipe work is all scratch built. So that actually joined on to the factory. So I think it was like a paper mill, I think I was building, all apparently. So we need some way to visually join the two buildings together. And I felt a bit of piping with the railway running underneath it was sort of the answer, really. So yeah, it was quite a nice little thing to sort of do at the time. Some more figures. Okay, so this is Pico. This is 00, obviously Scottish. This is Pico's first attempt at doing a laser cut kit. And to be fair to them, really nice. This kit's made from plywood, not MDF. So the grain in the plywood really helps with the weathering, which is quite nice. It fitted really well together. Yeah, I find laser cut kits are great. There is a limit to how fine it can go with laser cutting. Some of the bits can be a bit clunky, sort of joining sort of thing. Like for instance on the steps, you obviously where the steps are located. You could potentially sort of cover that up, I suppose, really, but that's on reflection. But yeah, I do find these little Pico kits really good. They fit together lovely.